Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtata Satishle Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Gaurnitai Ki Shri Krishna Balaram Ki Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Shri Radhadeva Ki Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadeva Ki Shri Radha Govinda Madhava Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Vantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Harinama Sankirtan Ki. Gaura Premanandi. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glorious to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani. Namaste Saraswate Devi. Gauravani Pracharine. Manasesha Sanyavadi. Pastachare Shatarine. Jai Shri Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 16, text number 31. We are reading from a section of Srimad Bhagavatam, and in this section there are pretty much no purports for a lot of verses. Let's see. Namo Dvi Shirshne Tripade Chatu Sringaya Tantave Sapta Hastaya Yajnaya Trai Vidyatmane Namaha. Namo Dvishishne Tripade Chatu Shringaya Tantave Saptahastaya Yagyaya Trai Vidyatmane Namaha. Namo Dvishishne Tripade Chatu Shringaya Tantave Saptahastaya Yagyaya Trai Vidyatmane Namaha. Namo Dvishishne Tripade Chatu Shringaya Tantave Saptahastaya Yagyaya Trai Vidyatmane Namaha. Namo Dvishishne Tripade Chatu Shringaya Tantave Saptahastaya Yagyaya Trai Vidyatmane Namaha. Namo Dvishishne Tripade Chatu Shringaya Tantave Saptahastaya Yagyaya Trai Vidyatmane Namaha. Namo Dvishishne Tripade Chatu Shringaya Tantave Saptahastaya Yagyaya Vai Vidyatmane Namaha. Ladies. Namo Visheshne Tripade Chato Shringaya Tantave Saptastaya Yagyaya Vai Vidyatmane Namaha. Namaha. Now, do we need a translation? I'm not sure. We need a translation? You might find there's a French, I don't know if there's a French Bhagavatam or not, of this one. Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, Vishishne, who have two heads, Tripade, who have three legs, Chatushringaya, who have four horns, Tantave, who expand, Saptahastaya, who have 7 hands, Yagyaya, unto the Yagya Purush, the supreme enjoyer. Trayi, the three modes of Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Vidya Atmane, the personality of Godhead, the embodiment of all knowledge. Namaha, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Translation. There is no purport. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have 2 heads, Payaniya and Udayaniya, 3 legs, Savanatraya, 4 horns, the 4 Vedas, and 7 hands, the 7 chandas, such as Gayatri. I offer my obeisances unto you, whose heart and soul are the 3 Vedic rituals, Karmakanda, Jnana-kanda, and Upasana-kanda, and who expand these rituals in the form of sacrifice. So, they are the prayers of Diti, correct? Diti? And she is, of course, on the advice of her husband and undergoing this Payovrata process of worship, approaching the Lord to try to achieve her purpose. Generally, whenever we pray, we have some purpose. Usually something to obtain, we desire something. There are different prayers in the modes of nature, but of course there are transcendental prayers where we do not desire anything material, but in general people desire something material. Those who are pious, they approach the Lord for the fulfillment of their material desires. Can this go up? That's great, thank you. Well, I'm going to read on because there's a long line of verses of prayers, and we'll go on to the next text and then on from there. Text 32. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, Lord Shiva or Rudra, who are the reservoir of all potencies, the reservoir of all knowledge, and the master of everyone. There's a 2-line purport. It is a system for one to offer obeisances unto the expansion or incarnation of the Lord. Lord Shiva is the incarnation of ignorance, one of the material modes of nature. So everything has its personification behind everything. And everything also has its, you could say, its energetic form. Everything is the energy of God. Everything, whatever it may be, is a form of expansion, be it direct or indirect. Everything is an expansion of the Lord. His various energies, or he himself, expand in various ways. And one who is in knowledge offers his respect to the Lord, understanding that everything is indeed related to the Lord, and whatever's going on here in this world ultimately has its origin. It may be perverted due to the diverse desires of the living entities, but nonetheless its origin, just like light has its origin from one source, the sun, and it is reflected in various objects or through various energies, and it appears very different to the perceiver in so many ways. It's diverted or perverted through various, and in the spiritual energy is diverted through the three modes of nature, and consequently it is understood to be perverted in this material world. We'll go on. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are situated as Hiranyagarbha, the source of life, the supersoul of every living entity. Your body is the source of the opulence of all mystic power. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Now, the various forms of the Lord in this universe, the supersoul is there, both of the universe, Garbhadak Vishnu, and Kshirodak by Vishnu, another expansion again, who is within every living entity's heart, within every atom. The next verse, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the original personality of Godhead, the witness in everyone's heart, and the incarnation of Nara-Narayan Rishi in the form of a human being. O personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So definitely deity is understanding the Supreme Lord in the sense of his unlimited expansions, all of which are worshipable in various ways. He doesn't seem to have a particular, what's known Ishtadev, a particular form of the Lord whom she's focusing on, but respecting all the various forms that she's aware of here in her prayers. My Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are dressed in yellow garments, whose bodily hue resembles the Marakkata gem, and who have full control over the goddess of fortune. O my Lord Keshava, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. O most exalted and worshipable Lord, best of those who bestow benediction, you can fulfill the desires of everyone, and therefore those who are sober, for their own welfare, worship the dust of your lotus feet. All the demigods, as well as the goddess of fortune, engage in the service of his lotus feet. Indeed, they respect the fragrance of those lotus feet. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead be pleased with me. Interesting. Is this Kashyapa Muni explaining what deity should do, or is this deity actually praying? I haven't been here. Deity.
Kashyapa Muni is explaining it now.
He's explaining it. So deity hasn't started her worship yet. It's Kashyapa Muni explaining to Diti, the mother of Aditi, Aditi, explaining to Aditi the process of this Payovata form of worship. All the demigods, as well as the goddess of fortune, engage in the service of his lotus feet. It means submitting ourselves to the will of the Lord. When we talk of the lotus feet of the Lord, in different you could say, contexts, we may refer to different aspects of taking shelter of those transcendental. The lotus feet of the Lord represents like above the material energy, he who is beyond the material energy. Also, those who've taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, basically understood those who are eternally situated in their constitutional position as servants of the Lord in all humility. It's taking a humble position. When we bow down to someone's feet, even in the material world, it is a form of expression, at least, of humility. And the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord, it certainly is. In their Sikshastakam prayers, we also pray, Trinadapi Sinichena, Terora Sa Ishnana, that may I be lower than the straw on the street. Taking a lowly position, a humble position, seeing oneself as below, and seeing the Lord, of course, obviously, but all of the other devotees situated there, taking shelter of them also. Humility. Humility of prayer is, at least it should be, a stage towards genuine humility. Of course, in many cases, it's very conditional. And it may be so conditional that unless we get what we want, we desist from our prayers. Or we read, I don't know if we read it here, but we read it yesterday somewhere, about sometimes the devotees of various demigods who are limbs of the Lord in this world, sometimes they approach the demigods for materialistic reasons, they always do, and sometimes they're very demoniac, just like the Vrikasura, the one we were hearing about yesterday, requested Lord Shiva for the boon that whomever's head I touch will break into many pieces and they'll die. So then immediately he turned on Lord Shiva with the intention of killing him also. But he couldn't do it, but he endeavored. But this is the nature of the, let's say, mundane or the demoniac mentality, that we're simply, even if we accept the existence of some godly personality or some greater personality, and we take shelter of them, like Hiranyakashipu did of Brahma, or whatever it may be, the intention is to further one's own, let's say, selfish or egotistical position, to become more powerful oneself. This is the demoniac mentality, or sinful mentality. And one is, you could say, so that one may even approach God or his representative for such desires to be fulfilled, knowing that we cannot on our own actually fulfill our desires. But we're so foolish that even though we're approaching someone else, God save me, and sometimes Prabhupada we did mention one story of a man who was an atheist, quite common in this day and age, atheist. And he was a roofer, just like we have our devotees working on the roof up here, some of our workers working on the roof, trying to fix the roof. So something like that, a roof which slopes and then a big fall to the ground. So this fellow was fixing the roof, and suddenly he slipped and he rolled down the roof. Terrible fate. Huh? You can imagine. Heaven forbid. But he rolled down the roof, and just as he was about to fall over the edge, he was wearing what we call in English braces. It's a kind of like, overalls with these things that come over your shoulders. And suddenly, just as he was going off, somehow or other, the brace, one of them, caught on a nail, a big nail, sticking out. As he was rolling down the roof, he was crying. He was an atheist, but spontaneously coming out of his mouth, he was saying, "God save me! Oh, Jesus!" Or whatever. People automatically, when they're in difficulty, sometimes this comes out of their mouths. "God save me!" And then, wang, he was hanging there on his braces. and he was saved. And then he said, "My, it was a good job I put that nail there yesterday and saved myself." We forget God as soon as we get what we want. Well, you could say there's some remnant there in some relationship, but it's not very personal, very selfish. But generally, people are very selfish. Even deity, you could say, in one sense, is selfish, in another sense, not. Aditi, excuse me. In another sense, not. Because she is, the position of the demigods to manage on behalf of the Lord. And if the demons occupy their positions, then the universal administration is in disarray, in one sense. The real purpose of the universe will not be fulfilled. So it could be that one's also praying to the Lord to please readjust things more favorably for your pleasure. But generally when people pray this way, they are thinking, my children have been defeated by the children of my sister, and there's rivalry there. There's some envy, jealousy, or whatever, usually, if this type of prayer. Just like in the war, Second World War, Prabhupada mentions it, could be any war probably, but the Second World War, that many of the mothers, wives, etc., in both England and in Germany are praying, God, please save my husband, please save my son, please save my father, whatever it is. And then in many cases, one wonders what God did because so many millions of them perished. Well, of course, they're both praying. And you could say no war at all. Well, that's another thing. But in both cases, they're praying, may we win the war. May we win the war. And Prabhupada, in a sense, laughs. He said, poor God, what can he do? One side's praying, God, may we win. The other praying, God, may we win. But in many ways, they both lost. But this is a situation because we're seeing things from the point of view of ignorance. Our prayers are coated with the modes of nature, and consequently, there's a material result. Even our chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra may also be affected by the modes of nature, or various offenses, material desires, material expectations, material conditions, and consequently we'll get some material returns as well. Can lead offensive chanting. Hopefully we're not, the devotees are not chanting wantingly, at least, in an offensive mood. But if one is, then one gets a material return. But if we really want the real return, as Dhruva Maharaj is an example. Dhruva Maharaj, a young person, approached the Lord also for a material reason. You may know in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, 4 kinds of persons approach me. This is not necessarily those engaged in devotional service. This is those who are still seeing things, you could say, rather materialistically, and seeing God as an order supplier. But 4 kinds of persons: those in need of wealth, those who are feeling poverty, I need food and this and that. Those who are in distress, it's common when we're in a stressful, distressful situation. Those who are simply inquisitive, just checking things out. And those who are searching for knowledge, which of course is a little bit more elevated, are the general ones who approach the Lord. They haven't awoken devotional service, but there's some faith, some kind of recognition of a higher truth, be it personal or impersonal, but some kind of God, something great, whom they approach in one way or another. So Dhruva Maharaj, just like DT, from our perspective, you could say she appears to be approaching for a materialistic reason, although it may be more than that. But Dhruva Maharaj was definitely approaching for a material reason. He wanted to have a kingdom greater than that of his father, his grandfather, and his great-grandfather. His father, what's his name? Uttanapad? No. Who was his father? Dhruva. Uttanapad. And his grandfather, Swayambhuv, and his great-grandfather, Brahma, and so on. He wanted to have a kingdom greater than theirs. Well, that's pretty hard to get within the material world, especially Brahma, who is basically the greatest personality, not including the Supreme Lord, but the greatest personality in the universe. He's overseeing the whole universe. So how can one have a greater kingdom than that, practically speaking? Well, he was a small boy. He didn't know exactly, you could say, all these things. And his mother sent him to the Lord. He said, the only way you can fulfill your desire is to pray to God. So he prayed. He was going into the forest, Krishna, looking for God, whatever name he knew him by. And he was praying, you could say, in a sense. He was appealing to the Lord within his heart. Prayer is an appeal, depending on the sincerity of the heart, but it's an appeal. Appealing, Krishna, oh God, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? Please fulfill my desires. So Krishna sent his representative, Narada Muni, to assist Dhruva Maharaj in his endeavor. There's more to it. But eventually Narada Muni gave him a process, just like Kashyapa is giving Aditi a process whereby she can fulfill her desire. Just like we've also been given a process. The Mahamantra, of course, it's not just an ordinary mantra or an ordinary prayer. Most prayers are more specific, you could say. The Mahamantra covers everything, material and spiritual. It's not a prayer specifically for material results, as maybe this Payavata prayer may be used for that material purposes also. It's approaching the Lord, but it's with material motive. The Mahamantra, one may also use it for material reasons. But ultimately the Mahamantra is not just a mantra to fulfill material reasons or purposes. It's not even a mantra which may lead to liberation, which it may also do. Our chanting is namabhas, or let's say inattentive chanting, chanting which is not with love for the Lord. It's still mixed. It may not be directly offensive, but it's not, it's not really in the mood of completely pure devotional service. So it's mixed, namabhas, but it's somewhere more advanced than offensive chanting. And one may get liberation by that type of chanting. But that's not the goal of the chanting. This mantra is, there are some mantras that give liberation from the material world, and some which are directed towards elevation within this world. So we have Taraka Brahma mantra, which is to give liberation, which the Maha mantra can do, but it's more than that. And real liberation is also not just freedom from suffering or freedom from birth and death, but real liberation is to re-establish oneself in one's eternal constitutional position as the eternal servant of the Lord. This is real liberation, because that's our eternal position. Even even if we come to the platform of liberation and just realize our spiritual identity, that is not sufficient to guarantee that one will remain in that situation. Aside from that, simply having Brahman or spiritual realization is simply devoid of the real essence of the living entity's, you could say, nature, which is loving reciprocation, to experience a loving exchange. There's no loving exchange in of itself in the Brahman. There has to be relationship there. There's no rasa there as such. You could say there's a form of neutrality. It's not a relationship which results in anything, any variety or any deeper taste. It's kind of, what to say, it's just what it is, just existence only. There's no ananda there. So to experience that ananda, there are various mantras which can also, when purely chanted, selflessly chanted in this sense, without any material expectation, and with all sincerity, which can lead to attaining a relationship, or awakening, not attaining, it's already there, awakening our relationship with the Supreme Lord again, understanding our relationship. So the highest, the topmost, Baraka, topmost mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, can re-establish or establish our relationship with the Lord in his most sublime form of Krishna, or Radha and Krishna. Topmost mantra. But we also have to pay our part. The more we are attentive in chanting, the same applies in prayers. If we're just mechanically reciting prayers, it's not so effective. If we're simply mechanically reciting the Mahamantra, just either with a material motivation of expectation, which of course is offensive, or a desire to attain liberation, which is also offensive to the Lord, actually. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes these are the two main categories of offensive chanting. That we're chanting to get material returns or fulfill our, self-centered material objectives, become powerful or something, or we're chanting to get liberation. And these are the two barriers to Shuddhanam, or pure chanting. Not so much that we're inattentive, we do say is also offensive, but that's usually within the stage of namabhas. We may not be even aware that we're material desires, we may still have some attachment, etc., etc. But it's really when we're trying to fulfill those attachments that it becomes grossly namaparad. We're using the holy name to try to fulfill them. We don't have any faith in the transcendental nature of Krishna. Simply something we use and get rid of him once we've got what we want. That's offensive chanting. Whereas if we're chanting, we're just still suffering the consequences of our past, and we regret that, and we're not very advanced. We may, drift off. We may sometimes behave in ways which are not so good because of our past conditioning. We're not so pure. But we recognize that. We accept our shortcomings, and we try to, take the necessary measures to rectify that. Then we're in the stage of namabhas. Not that we should be, then the challenge comes, we may become proud, or we may become contented in that situation and become stuck again. But then we have to go forward. In the process of going forward, it's not just reciting a mantra. Up to that point, maybe we could say just the process itself and the chanting the mantra may bring us to that, but Krishna. But it's that point that we need to have the association. Any point is good, but particularly at that point, to be guided, directed by somebody who is chanting in Shuddhanam, pure chanting of the holy name, by association. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the key at that point, at every point is a key, but at that point it's an absolute necessary key to enter into the pure process of chanting prayer, is that one needs the association of somebody who is pure to guide us in the process to lead to pure devotional service or Shuddhanam. Anyway, Aditi, of course, her husband, is sometimes considered to be a little bit of a yogi. He may not be absolutely pure, but he's not, you could say, not materially motivated, pure in one sense, maybe not fully realized in his relationship with God. But he's giving her bona fide pure prayers to chant to fulfill her desire. But these prayers don't necessarily lead to love of God, depending on the attitude. A lot of it depends on our attitude, even in devotional service. Two devotees may be engaging in the same service with a different attitude, and the result will be different. It's not the activity as necessary, but the relationship we have with the service. One may be very selfishly motivated, the other may not be so selfishly motivated. Well, in other words, one's more conditioned than the other. It's okay, one can still become purified, but different levels of advancement may be there, and different results will be obtained. We'll read on a little bit more before we finish. Kashyapa Muni continued, by chanting all of these mantras, welcoming the Supreme Personality of Godhead with faith and devotion, and offering items of worship such as Padya and Arghya, different items which are offered in worship of the deities. One should worship Keshava, Rishikesh, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now he's a little bit more specific here. He's indicating the original personality of Godhead now. In the beginning, the devotee should chant the Dwadashakshara mantra and offer flower garlands, incense, and so on. After worshipping the Lord in this way, one should bathe the Lord with milk and dress him with proper garments, a sacred thread and ornaments. And after offering water to wash the Lord's feet, one should again worship the Lord with fragrant flowers, incense, and other paraphernalia. The process of deity worship, which the fortunate devotees here have such a wonderful opportunity to absorb themselves in by worshipping the deities so nicely, and with all of our hearts focusing on this, is following the direction of Srila Prabhupada, of our acharyas, how to do it, and at the same time cultivating the mood of trying to do it nicer for the pleasure of the Lord, working together cooperatively to please the Lord. And that mood, of course, can go and should go to every other type of service, whether it's farming or fixing up buildings or preaching or cooking or cleaning or managing or whatever it may be, teaching. Set the same mood, how I can be pleasing to the personality of Godhead. And we may ask, why this, why that? And we may or may not get an answer according to our condition, but the point is that these various forms of service are given in scriptures, given by pure devotees as a method sometimes to come to the platform of pure devotional service. The Dwadashakshara mantra this is very nice. We mentioned Dhruva Maharaj, this is the mantra he was chanting. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. While worshipping the deity, one should ring a bell with his left hand, ding, 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 and offer Padya, Arghya, Vastra, Gandha, Mala, Abharana, Bhushana, and so on. You have to look them up if you want to know what they mean. In this way, one should bathe the Lord with milk, dress him, and again worship him with all paraphernalia. That was a little short summary of deity worship. It was nice. And at the same time, deity worship should be accompanied by the chanting of the holy name. We heard this morning how important the chanting of the Maha Mantra is, although deity worship is important, Prabhupada said. The Yuga Dharma is chanting the holy names. Lord Chaitanya didn't, practically speaking, he didn't engage in directly speaking. I mean, he would obviously visit temples and offer his respects, but there's no record of him engaging in deity worship or even, you could say, propagating it. He propagated the holy name of Krishna. But we understood this morning from Jiva Goswami, who said that the holy name of Krishna is sufficient to attain perfection in life, but because we're a fallen condition, He was referring to Shalagram Shila then. Prabhupada talks about any deity worship, but one has to be, but deity worship, Prabhupada said, is very important because we are in a fallen condition to purify us, to regulate us, to help us to come to the mode of goodness so that we can practice chanting and hearing. The process of chanting and hearing and the association of devotees is the method of self-realization in Kali Yuga. So in order to do that, so we can be focused and etc., deity worship is very important. Very important. And to engage in deity worship, of all the limbs of devotional service, amongst the 5 most prominent limbs, the chanting of the holy name is the most important. But deity worship should be accompanied and is accompanied by the chanting of various names of God, not just the Mahamantra. Just as Aditi is now being advised to chant or approach the Lord in his various forms and worshipping in various ways to attain her goal. So similarly, when we're performing deity worship, the real goal of deity worship is ultimately to become totally Krishna conscious, purified, please the Lord, and consequently become pure in our hearts. Not that we're doing it and then we're becoming proud, or we're seeing it as a livelihood, a job, as something which we give up once we've achieved our purposes, etc. No, it's a different attitude altogether, of feeling so fortunate and feeling so fallen and taking shelter of the directions of the pure devotees, praying that we may not commit any offense to the Lord in the course of our services, and being very humble mood, taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in all humility, like this, developing this humble approach in our deity worship. Otherwise it can be risked that we become proud. Many times that happens in our services. We have to be careful to always remain in a humble position. So I think we should finish there because it's 9 o'clock almost. It is 9 o'clock. And there are lots and lots and lots and lots of verses here with no purports at all, up to the text 55. We are now on text 40, and 40 to 55 there are no purports. So whoever's giving class tomorrow, text 55 has a purport. Let's finish the chapter quickly after that. Jai, Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much, and we hope you can also appreciate the good fortune of devotional service more and more. When we chant Hare Krishna, we're asking for service, so Krishna kindly sometimes gives us a chance to serve, and using our common sense, if we don't take the opportunity, then our chanting will not actually bear the proper fruit. Krishna will not reciprocate. You're asking for service, I'm coming in the form of service. We don't take the opportunity, then what's the meaning of that? Any questions?
Oh yeah, Mara.
Where's that question coming from? Round behind the pillar. Is that Nrsingadev behind the pillar there?
You remember Dhruva Maharaj went to Madhuvan or Mahavan?
Madhuvan. Yeah. He went to Vrindavan. Madhuvan. Mahavan's on the eastern bank and Madhuvan's on the western bank, just south of Mathura. He went to Madhuvan. Yeah, wonderful place, Madhuvan. Yeah. Because he didn't know, he was just following the instruction of Narada Muni with faith that this would fulfill his goals. And be a small boy, materially motivated. When the Lord came, eventually the Lord was satisfied because he followed the instructions very, very seriously. And the Lord appeared to him, said, now, okay, I've come, I'll fulfill your desire. And when Dhruva Maharaj saw the Lord, even a small boy, he's only 5 or something, when he saw the Lord, he lost all interest in his material desires. He thought, this is just seeing this form of the Lord is more satisfying than any thought of any material achievement. Even a kingdom greater than my grandfather. This is amazing. Just the darshan of the Lord's lotus feet was sufficient to fully satisfy Dhruva Maharaj's heart. That's the greatest, you could say, objective of prayer, in one sense. I have approached you, he said. I approached you, the Lord gave him the intelligence to offer prayers. He said, I've approached you looking for broken pieces of glass. And now I have achieved or found the most valuable jewel just by having your darshan. But still, because he approached with material desires, the Lord fulfilled his material desire also. But he remained in devotional service after that. Krishna fulfilled both. So whatever our material motives may be, a kama sarva kamo, moksha kamo davi, tivena bhakti yogena, whatever motivation we have or another, it's still recommended that we approach the Lord. Eventually it will bear higher fruits, even if we do approach with a material motivation. Still, eventually, at least there's some recognition there, better than none. Anything else? So many roses are growing in the garden for Krishna's pleasure. And we see beautiful garlands now on the deities, roses. Huh? So, whatever is there is the heart that counts, but we should try to do the nicest. So obviously, roses grow here, and they're certainly a wonderful flower. Other flowers too. But it's not that we say, okay, leaves or roses, Krishna doesn't mind, he's God, fruit, flower, leaf or water, offer leaf. And even in the summer we make no effort and we just offer him leaves. And instead of milk we say, oh, water, just give him water. You can have water as well, of course. Try to offer something, the best we can, whatever we can. Try to offer everything we can for Krishna's pleasure. The best of everything. Pardon? Yes, we really, I think all of us deeply appreciate what Giri Govardhan Prabhu is doing in the gardens. And not, of course, every other devotee too, but we're talking about roses, so till 8, 9 o'clock at night I see him working out there in the gardens many days, watering those roses. And we hope that other devotees will take advantage of this. Giri Govardhan's maybe in his 40s or something now, I don't know. I wish. But coming up the scale there, many of us are getting up the scale a bit. And we hope that others will also come up and supersede and do even better. But this is devotional service. It's not just about doing what I want. It's about doing what Krishna wants. That's how Krishna reciprocates. If we just say, that's okay in one sense, but it's not enough. Just to say, I'm just going to do what I want for Krishna. Whether Krishna wants or not is another thing. But growing as a deity is in the nectar devotion to make a flower garland for the Lord is a very important limb of deity worship. Very important limb. Collecting funds for the Lord is another important limb of deity worship. People think, you're just money collecting. Depends what you do with it. If you're using it for the deity worship, you're not money collecting. You're engaged in pure devotional service. It belongs to Krishna already. It's not that we're collecting it. It already belongs to him. It's just recognizing that it belongs to him and helping other unfortunate souls who don't recognize it to engage in service. by using their funds in the service of Krishna and releasing them from the karmic reactions they would otherwise suffer, and giving them good fortune by connecting it with Krishna. Anything else? We have the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada's arrival in France coming up in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks now. On the 25th, 2 weeks today actually, is the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada's arrival in Paris. And we'll be having some program. It won't be as big as it should be, but something is there. Gopaswami Prabhu yesterday contacted Lochanananda, not you, another Lochanananda Prabhu, who was one of the most, influential, one of the early devotees, one of the first devotees here in France, one of the most influential devotees here in France. He got him on the phone yesterday, and Lochananda is in great joy and happiness to be a part of this program, at least online. No, he won't be able to come here, but at least on Zoom, he'll be sharing his ecstatic experiences and memories of 1971 when Prabhupada came. And Hari Vilas Prabhu was the temple president at that time, will also be online. He's also got a lot to share. And we're trying to get hold of a few more. I don't know if Jyotirmai wants to come online. Maybe you have her number or not. Jyotirmai. We'll give her a ring and see. I mean, she's already given information, but she might like to join us on that Zoom conference also. I don't know who else we can contact. I've got a long list of devotees, but I don't know them. Maybe they're still around. And it would be nice to feel the presence of Srila Prabhupada arriving in Paris. 24-hour stay over. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Go Premanandi.